Hello. I chose to do chapter 3 because, as I was kind of reading the first two chapters, I was more or less interested in the history of how we developed the social welfare system that we have today through the course of history. And I was really fascinated with chapter 3 by actually and how we started out in a localized social welfare system in medieval times with churches and it kind of I guess it's more of a conservative view, kind of having a localized government taking care of people instead of a federal one like we see much later in society, and how it started with serfdom and landowners and then kind of evolved into mercantilism, kind of wanting more economic growth for nations. And then it gets to the colonial period where we have a really interesting part to me in our revolution, where we're kind of sick of, well, not sick, I guess. Well, I guess you would say that. Some people could say that. We were tired of, well, improper or inappropriate social policy governing us. And so we decided to change that, and that's how we got. And then later on, as we're developing that in the Constitution later on, through George Washington's second presidency, I like seeing how the arguments of the Jeffersonians and the Hamiltonians kind of reflects modern day Republicans and Democrats' arguments of how a social welfare system should be used. That's hmm, that's pretty. That's a lot of why I like chapter 3. More or less, I liked how the different populations kind of use these institutions like the churches in medieval times to benefit them through a social welfare system, and then kind of coming to rely later on the expectation that the federal government or that a nation should help them, a more central government or a central power other than a localized one. And that's what really interested me through chapter 3, was seeing typically the more vulnerable populations such as women, children, and the elderly, who are usually the targets of poverty and who are the main recipients of social welfare. Kind of how they're treated and how they progress, like how women became usually were very, very limited, especially in feudal times, to only certain professions, or, well, not really professions at all, kind of expectations to child rear and, well, just kind of take care of the home in that sense, and then evolve to more other professions like midwives and, well, secretaries, and then others through the colonial time, and then eventually evolved into what is kind of more equal opportunities, such as their male counterparts in today's society. And that's a lot of why I like chapter 3. And that's about, I just enjoyed, I always enjoy reading the origins of how things came to be and how they progress. I enjoy looking at that huge gap in the timeline for how one thing transitioned to another, because it just doesn't all kind of happen overnight, and that's really fascinating to me. And that's it.